about what to expect personnel-wise when it comes to the Broncos and Chiefs game this Sunday over at Arrowhead. Again, it's another 11 a.m. kickoff, so get all your honeydews done so you can just wake up and watch the Broncos. We already seen a change at running back. So what does that mean? Now, Jaleel got the start and still didn't get the brunt of the work there, the carries in the loss to Baltimore, where they didn't run the ball that much because you were down 31 points. But we'll start there. Who's the starting running back? What do you expect on Sunday?
Yeah, I expect more Audric Estime, which is dangerous. Now, who's the starter?
Can't make you feel good.
No, not at all. Who's the starter? Probably Jaleel McLaughlin, I would guess. But is it going to be like the last time out where it's like, hey, there's Jaleel, and then you never see him?
Yeah.
Hey, there you go. It's a blue moon, everybody. It's a shooting star. And then he'll get 4 or 5 carries, right? But it needs to begin with the ground game to keep Pat Mahomes cold on the sidelines so that offense is kind of finding their way. It wasn't earlier the year. You're catching the Chiefs at the wrong time. They're undefeated, and their offense is just starting to click, like now.
Yeah.
And they're just starting to use Travis Kelce more. And DeAndre Hopkins had his big game last time out with that Remember the Titans dance. So, okay, they're figuring it out. And you yourself still offensively are trying to find who you can trust. Can you trust Audric Estime? No. Will he get more time? Yeah, because you can't trust Javonte Williams either. We had Andrew Mason on earlier in the show, and Mason said, he's back to being the guy that's like 2.5 yards a carry. That's not good. That's not what you need. That's not what you want. So Estime will be up. It's probably going to be a 3-headed committee, maybe even a hot hand approach, which I don't like because they don't have the opportunity to get hot. To me, Javonte is a player that needs a lot of carries to get going, and then if he doesn't, you have to have another option. Their other option has been Jaleel McLaughlin, but that hasn't worked because they don't really go to him. And last time out, Javonte didn't do what he needed to do, and this time out, like, okay, they'll just quickly go to Estime. Mm-hmm. He's got to stop dancing, though. As a guy that once in his locker, and he's talked about it, so I can talk about it. It's so weird we can't talk about what's in their locker.
Yeah, you see it every day.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, whatever. I'm not going to talk about it. But he's talked about, like, had the picture of Barry Sanders, had the picture of Jerome Bettis. And there was the little, like, Ghostbusters thing through Barry Sanders, and there was a little check mark by Jerome Bettis. Okay, fine. You're not playing like that at all because it's all – and watch the Ravens game. Every carry, he's taking a ghost step. You don't need to do it. You're not fooling anybody.
No.
You're not breaking somebody's ankles, right? You're not out there Timmy Hardaway with the killer crossover and the UTEP two-step. You're not doing that. So for me, I'm like, I want to see him be a straight-ahead gap runner and run with power. Run like Mark Ingram. And if I'm Sean Payton, that's what I do. He hasn't talked about New Orleans much since playing New Orleans.
Oh, wow.
Thank you, Lord.
Yeah.
But I would go and put on, hey, call up Mark Ingram tape. Here's every Mark Ingram carry from his best season with the Saints. That's what I need you to look like. I need you to hang on to the rock, and I need you to be a straight-ahead, downhill power runner to really soften up that Chiefs defense.
We've talked about the tight end group, and I kind of feel like I can tie in the tight end group conversation with this running back room conversation because you're right about Audric Estime. You're right because Sean Payton has said that now a couple of different times post-Baltimore game. It to me just feels like, hey, now we're going to go to this guy because Javonte hasn't been good enough and Jaleel hasn't been good enough. And he just, Sean loves to stick with the depth order. And now this is just the next guy up. Same thing with the tight end room. Greg Dulcich got the nod to start the season. He wasn't good enough. Now they've gone to Lucas Kroll. Lucas hasn't been good enough, but he's used in many different ways. So that's what's keeping him on the field.
Right.
To me, it doesn't matter who the starter is because Sean Payton has shown me, and now I'm going to believe that, he trusts Javonte Williams the most.
Yes.
So when it's gotta have it, 4th and 1, and you pitch it 6 yards behind the line of scrimmage, but it's going to Javonte Williams because that is the running back that has earned the most trust from Sean Payton. I believe that because of the things he's saying about Audric Estime, he wants Audric to take this opportunity and literally, in all aspects of the term, run with it. And then he gets to be that guy. But Audric has to earn it, and to the point you've been banging on this table for about 6 weeks now, he has not done that.
Well, and I'm not going to be hyperbolic when I say this, but if he fumbles one more time, you cut him. That's what you do with a late-round pick. Why? It kind of leads into the Troy Franklin conversation. Why are these day 3 picks getting so much leverage with a team when they haven't yet earned it? Could Audric Estime one day be a 1,000-yard rusher in the league? Yeah, sure. I mean, that's not out of the realm of possibilities whatsoever. He's a talented back. He's a powerful player. He runs with intent. I like that. But when you mess up and you put the ball on the ground 3 times, twice in the regular season, once in the preseason. If you do it again, you're a day 3 pick. I cut you. I move on.
I'm
There's
with you.
plenty of, hey, Blake Watson called up on a practice squad. There you go. Boom, done. Troy Franklin dropping passes left and right. All right, you're a 4th-round pick. I know you might have had a 2nd-round grade. And honestly, I had a 2nd-round grade on him. I've talked about it. I was excited they got Troy Franklin. And I'm not giving up on Troy Franklin for Oregon Trey or anyone out there. Like, I don't think any of us should be. You just should not be giving him the opportunities that he has yet to earn. It's in a way different, but somewhat similar in how Isaiah McKenzie got a chance with the Broncos. And Isaiah's main problem as someone in that locker room is he always thought he was Demarius and Emmanuel, and he'd like hang out with DT and E. He was nowhere near those guys like talent, but he thought he was. And he got this opportunity, like, here you go. Here's your opportunity. And he didn't earn it. Montrell Washington, when George Payton drafts him, hey, I can't believe the guy from Samford didn't work out in the NFL. Shocker. But he drafts him immediately. Here's the job. Here's the job. Mm-hmm. So much so that Jerry Rosberg shows up and says, you're gone. You're out of here.
That was like his first move.
Right. And then their special teams improves. And now special teams for the Broncos is like one of the best in the league.
It really is.
So when you don't earn it in a league that for players is a meritocracy, for coaches it's a good old boy network, unfortunately, that's just the God's honest truth. But for players, it's what you earn. Troy Franklin, you got to earn more. Audric Estime, you got to earn more. And if you start keeping, or if you keep giving up the rock, we're not going to keep you.
No, it's point blank, period. It's as simple as that. Kevin gave me the numbers for last year's game against the Kansas City Chiefs. Javonte was the workhorse at running back, 27 carries for 85 yards, just over 3 yards a carry. If he gets 27 carries in a game, the Broncos have had to have a 30-point lead at some point. He's not touching the ball 27 times.
Yeah.
That's just not Sean Payton.
You don't want that. You don't want that at all whatsoever.
Another question. We talked about Josh Reynolds. You, me, and Andrew Mason all believe that it's not this week that Josh returns, but it will be the following when they come back home and take on the Atlanta Falcons. What about the Bo Nix, Troy Franklin connection? I was like, is his first name Troy for a second? I got confused. They've been close. It feels like 19 times, and yet to hit one.
Right.
Is this finally the week that they connect? So it's been on Troy for about the first 3 misses. The last one, it was on Bo.
That's on Bo.
Because he didn't give Troy a chance to drop the ball.
Right. I would need about 3 big plays and probably 3 different games, honestly, before I feel good about saying, like, Troy Franklin can be that guy. Somebody on Orange and Blue today in the chat room asked me, like, can Troy Franklin be a number 1? No, what? Never. He's like a number 2. He's a speedy number 2. He could be a talented number 2, but you don't have number 1 potential with Troy Franklin, but you don't even have that right now. Right now, Troy Franklin to me is like a 4. You know, like you bring him on the field, you go 5 wide. Oh, hey, there's Troy Franklin. But right now, he's getting such work because of the injury to Josh Reynolds, because of Little Jordan Humphrey, that's not his game, because of the struggles of Marvin Mims. That's all it is. We're halfway through this season. We got to call it like it is with Marvin Mims. He's struggling to do what the coaches need him to do offensively. He's a great returner. He's a Pro Bowl return man. But as a receiver is what you need him to be. That's why you draft him in the second round. You don't draft a kick returner in the second round.
Nope.
So it's the struggles of Marvin Mims. It's just really Lil Jordan's. That's not his game. It's the injury to Josh Reynolds. All right, Troy Franklin, you're up, and you continue to disappoint. So it's going to take 3 big plays in 3 different games before I can think of Franklin as someone reliable enough to say this is the week he does something.
Yeah, I think that's very fair. And then the last question to kick around here as far as personnel changes, how about Devon Key? Devon Key? What did you say it was? Devin Key.
Devin Key.
He was, I don't know how to say this without telling the truth, he was awful last week. He gave up a touchdown on a play where he missed 2 tackles on the same guy. That's not how you want to look there.
Yeah.
Key, he's a young player. No means am I saying he's a bust and he'll never work out in the NFL. I'm just saying, hey, if you have an opportunity to replace because you're getting a little bit healthy, I'd like to see that against the Chiefs.
Well, and watching the practice status of PJ Locke, and that's the thing. Like, I felt, and I haven't yet said this, and it's Wednesday. I have a lot to talk about. That was the first game you really missed Justin Simmons. And all due respect to Justin, obviously we all love Justin, but you had really kind of covered it up for weeks. For 2 months, basically. You're like, hey, you know, you're fine without Justin Simmons. You weren't fine against Baltimore. And that's due to the injuries. That's due to P.J. Locke being banged up. And Brandon Jones more of a box safety.
Yeah.
But really, Devin Key, your responsibility was to do what Justin Simmons used to do. And that's like not let those big plays happen. And that's what Justin was his specialty. And you really did miss him last time out. So if P.J. Locke can be healthy, we're going to learn about the practice status a little bit later. And we'll see what the safety position looks like in a game where you're going to have to worry about DeAndre Hopkins now. It's a thing. You're going to have to worry about Travis Kelce. He's back, and he's doing great things as he normally does.
He really is.
You know, and you were able to do it against Mark Andrews. That's great, but you let Zay Flowers get away from you. So is that what DeAndre Hopkins does this week? God, I hope not.
Yeah, I hope not, too. I mean, Zay's a little bit more mobile, agile
fast,
than
quick.
who D-Hop is now.
Right.
But he's still a great route runner, possession guy. He will be a problem. Is that something... I mean, do they just have PS2 follow around a guy like DeAndre Hopkins?
Why didn't they do that with Zay?
Well, that's a fair question. They didn't even adjust to that, by the way.
I know. So it's like, okay, you have that opportunity, you have that ability, and was it because you were so worried about the tight ends that you just couldn't move Pat Surtain around? Like, okay, let Mark Andrews beat you. Don't let Zay Flowers beat you in the way that he did. And with Travis Kelce, for me, it would be like, okay, DeAndre Hopkins not what he used to be, but he's still dangerous. Don't let Travis Kelce beat you. So maybe that's where PS2, and I've asked the question too many times to VJ. I won't ask him this week, tomorrow. Like, hey, are you going to put PS2 on a tight end? Like, nah, we'll just see. But just make sure if Kelce doesn't get you, that the other options don't get you in the Chiefs offense.
100%. I want to check in and hear a little bit from Zach Allen and Sean Payton here. Zach Allen talked about accountability, and there's something in here, Cease, that now I believe it's like the second or third time that there's been a comp with this Broncos team to the Detroit Lions and kind of the rise that they have had over the last 3 or so years.
If we want to go where we're going to go, we have to be able to have those conversations. So I think we're in a good spot. I mean, obviously the score doesn't look good, but Detroit had a pretty similar loss to them last year and ended up doing pretty good. So we'll bounce back knowing this group, and we'll be fine.
All right, so they'll be fine. Again, he mentioned that little Detroit loss. When he said that last night or Monday night, I thought, oh, man, let me look back at what this little rise has looked like for Detroit. And it's just a couple of years ago when they were 9-8 in 2022. Obviously, last year we know they won 12 games, lost in the NFC Championship. Josh Reynolds had something to do with that.
Couple of drops. Yes.
And now, obviously, I feel that they are the best team in the NFC. If you don't feel that way, all good. But I certainly do. So that we're talking about like a 3-year stretch where I believe they could be in the Super Bowl this year. That's a little quick for where the Broncos are. Jared Goff wasn't a rookie when they got there.
Right.
They have a Amon-Ra St. Brown. They drafted a Sam Laportier, as Stoke likes to say. They're kind of a year minimum, maybe 2 ahead of where the Broncos can be if that's the blueprint that they're chasing.
Well, and just think of how the Lions had to assemble it, right? They might be 3 years away from where the Lions are.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Because it took them a few years with Jared Goff, and they had to assemble talent, not only Amon-Ra St. Brown, the sun god, Jahmyr Gibbs.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And people were devastated. I don't know why, because I had put that out there, and Stoke was real happy I put it out there. Let's just say that. Hey, the Lions are going to take Jahmyr Gibbs. Lions are going to take Jahmyr Gibbs.
Yeah.
And they did. Why? Because that offense now is unstoppable. They can beat you anyway. The Broncos' offense is very stoppable, sometimes by their own doing, with drop passes, with ineffective ground game, with Bo Nix overthrowing guys. Like, you have to get to where you are inevitable offensively. Hey, you're going to take this away? We got another thing. You basically bracket court, stack the line to stuff the run, bracket court. Hey, you're one-on-one with Lil Jordan Humphrey. You've got the Broncos beat. And Spagnuolo, and we're going to get into the numbers. Kev's got them for tomorrow's show of Spagnuolo versus Sean Payton. It's not great, Bob. It's not great at all. Spags is going to know this. Stack the line, stuff the run, eliminate any sort of ground game that you potentially could have. Bracket court with a safety. You've essentially bottled up the Broncos offense. The one thing that can beat that, there's one thing that can beat that. It's Bo as a runner.
Oh, yeah.
The one thing, because if it's 11-on-11 football, you're not planning on him being the runner. So it'll be interesting to see how Spags kind of game plans for that.
Yeah.
But really, I'm not going to say easy. I hesitate saying that. But it's kind of easy to bottle up this Broncos offense as currently constructed.
Because there aren't any threats. There aren't any real threats out there. You know what? You bring up Spags, and I hate that I feel this way. 'Cause every time I see him, I'm like, God, that face. There's something.
I hate
about
that
it.
guy.
But damn, is he good?
Right.
He is so damn good,
Yes,
man.
yeah, he's great. He's great.
It stinks that he's on the Chiefs.
There's sometimes coaches like that. I feel that way about Steve Kerr, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, man.
See, I don't think Steve Kerr's good. I think you, me, Kevin, and Drew could show up and coach those Warriors teams to titles.
Okay.
He had Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, and Kevin Durant on this team. That's easy work. Steve Kerr could roll out of bed and just show up and not talk, and they still win all those
Don't
games.
forget the traitor,
What do you mean?
Iguodala.
Oh, that's right. The mole. Yeah, exactly. Iggy over there. God, that guy. Yeah, I don't know. Steve Kerr also bugs me a little bit. So
Yeah.
I have
He's a little
different
schmarmy.
reasons. Yeah.
Right.
Little couple different reasons for that. Keep it going here with some sound. Sean Payton. This was interesting to me, too. Now, he's going to talk today, and we'll see what the positive Sean may sound like. But I heard this, and I'm like, look at Sean out here trying to put a positive spin on a beatdown from Baltimore.
Well, I think they can. I mean, I think each week there are these learning experiences we have, not only as coaches, but as players, as teams. You know, there's some games where you're going to play more aggressively because you feel like that's what's necessary to win. You know, yesterday, obviously, there was a handful of fourth downs that we wanted to be somewhat aggressive. I think that first half, when you look at the final minute and a half, that was significant and obviously put us in a much different position coming out with them starting with the ball. And that gets back to that margin for error that we have to at least be aware of and understand.
All right, so he's kind of putting positive spin, like you can learn from these things. You can get better from these big blowout losses. And he's trying to dial down the fourth down numbers there. But I really like what he said at the end there. He's kind of talking about their margin of error. And if he's saying that to us, he's certainly hammering the team with that. And I think it goes to what you were just saying about how you can kind of game plan against the Broncos. Their margin for error, because they are a young football team and they're not loaded with playmakers or even really any playmakers on the offensive side, their margin for error is basically none. You cannot make multiple mistakes. You cannot have a ball go off the hand of little Jordan Humphreys and be an interception on your first drive.
Yeah.
Those things cannot happen if you want to beat and be in the conversation with playoff teams in the NFL.
I think this can't be a my bad offense.
Yeah, great. That's a good way to put it.
Because I don't know if you heard Lil Jordan after the game, but he was like, oh, it's my bad, and I got to make sure. No, dude, we've already heard that from you. We've already done this before. It's Groundhog's Day. And it doesn't matter if it's Josh Reynolds dropping a pass or Lil Jordan doing something, fighting for extra yards. Like, he's done it 2 weeks in a row now. You cannot do it a third week in a row. I don't care how much Sean Payton loves you, but I don't need the my bad offense. You're not good enough for the, oh, that's my bad. No, Bo overthrows you. Oh, Bo, that's my bad.
Yeah.
No, Bo, you got to be better. You must be better. You're not working with enough talent. So Bo has to rise his game so that he's sharp, and then it's easier. We're running the promo with Mike Evans being like, oh, the hard part's done. Now the easy part, you just build around him. Well, if Bo's better, you're going to be able to see, oh, well, Lil Jordan, that's not working. It's not working. Tight end, that's not working. Anybody outside of Sutton, that's not working. Like, you're going to be able to see those spots if Bo's on point. Mm-hmm. So this team, and I think my bad, it's like anything. It's like apologizing. Like in a relationship, you can only apologize so many times. And then it's just like, okay, this is just the way it's going to be. And I feel with Lil Jordan Humphrey or Josh Reynolds or anyone out there that's messing up, even Bo to a certain extent, the whole my bad thing, okay, you're a veteran for Lil Jordan. You're a veteran. You know better than to be fighting for extra yardage in the first quarter on a pass where you already got a first down. Like, just go to the ground, hang on to the ball, and then, tipping it up in the air, tips and overthrows, you got to get those. So I don't need to hear my bad from the guy that already said, it's like the boy who cries wolf. Like, oh, it's wolf. It's my bad. It's my bad. How about it's somebody else's bad then?
Yeah.
Because I'm tired of it being your bad.